ever wondered how you would cope with an injury or illness while living alone? Hi, I'm Beck, 47, and I make videos about how to deal with this crazy stage of life while living solo. Living alone and being sick is never fun. I've just gone through shoulder surgery, as you can see, and until about a week beforehand, I didn't really worry about it too much. But then I got a phone call from the hospital asking the name of a person who would pick me up the day after my surgery, as you're not allowed to go home by yourself. And I went like, I don't think I have anyone who could easily pick me up on a Tuesday morning. Everybody is at work. I don't have family around. My mum, who's coming to help me at home, can't drive, so what to do? And a couple of months back, I woke up in the morning and got up and my leg had fallen asleep. So I crashed down to the floor so badly that I actually twisted my ankle, and I managed to heave myself back into bed. But I was feeling really dizzy and nauseous, so I was a bit scared that I had actually broken something. And while I was lying there holding my ankle and trying to work out what the next step would be, and just to calm myself down, I was thinking in my head, who could I ask that would live close by and actually help me if I end up not being able to walk or ask for help? And to both scenarios, I did not have a quick answer straight away. You see, living alone is okay most of the time, and I think it can even be fun, but when things go wrong, it can become really complicated. So here are some tips that helped me or could help me in the future if anything goes wrong again. Firstly, prepare for the unexpected. And I would start saying, set up a support system. So when I was getting ready for my shoulder surgery, I was lucky enough that my mother said she's happy to come over. She doesn't live here in Melbourne. She lives in Tasmania. And she said she's happy to come and help me out for a couple of weeks while I'm recovering at home. So that support was very easily organized for myself, but not everybody is as lucky. If you're lucky enough that you have a planned surgery coming up, then make sure you plan for some help if you can. And I have to say, with the shoulder, I was so lucky to have mum here for the 2 weeks, but if she wouldn't have been here, I would have been okay probably with a couple of hours help here and there. So if you don't have anyone that lives with you or can move in with you, or you can move in with them, try and find some support for a couple of hours a day. Depending what's wrong with you, you might just need people to help you getting dressed, having a shower, or maybe just to cook you a meal. So have a think what your mobility will be like and then plan accordingly to that. Obviously, if your illness, sickness, injury is something unexpected, it can become a bit more complicated. In case of an emergency, I actually have a lockbox outside that has a house key in it. So if anything happens to me, people will always be able to enter my property if I can give them the code. I do have a set of keys with friends close by that if anything goes wrong with me or my pets, they can enter my house. So have a think about how you could prepare for the unexpected. When I knew I was going in for surgery, I made sure I stocked up the fridge and the pantry with stuff, also toilet paper or cat food, you name it. I was able to get all that in advance. Again, if it's an unexpected accident or injury or sickness, it's a little bit more complicated, but it's probably a good idea to have essentials in the house anyway. Worst case scenario, you're just going to live off a cup of soup for a couple of days until you're feeling better, or someone can bring you some food, or you can get yourself to a shop. At number 2 is plan your daily tasks with limited mobility. There are a few points to this. The first one is really to simplify your meals. Again, if you're lucky enough to be able to plan it, make sure you pre-cook some meals and freeze them, or you can order yourself some meals online and chuck them in the freezer, so you just have to get them out and heat them up. Make sure your fridge is stocked up with essentials. Have a think about how you're going to feed yourself while not having full mobility. The second point under this point really is to rearrange your living space according to your injury or illness. If you're stuck in bed, obviously you can't do much at all. But in my case, not having my right arm, and I'm right-handed, and sleeping propped up on pillows to be comfortable, I had to rearrange some things in my house to make it usable for me. So I actually moved my side table in my bedroom a few centimeters forwards away from the wall, as I am tilted up sitting in bed and I just couldn't reach to the corner where my side table usually sits. So That was an easy fix and made a really big difference, because that way I had everything I needed right next to me and could just reach it as I needed it without having to twist my bodies and hurt my injury even more. The other thing I couldn't do, I realized, was getting things off the top shelf easily, even though I've got my left arm, but it just wasn't really worth it because I have to go on tippy toes because they're really high. So I moved some of the bowls and plates, etc., what I needed further down, and that made all the difference. And thirdly, dog, cat food, and all the dog and cat accessories really were stored away in cupboards and on shelves and in some big containers, and I just couldn't move them. So what I've done is I moved the food into smaller containers that I can open one-handed, easily feed the two, and then put it back on the shelf. And once the container was empty, while Mum was here, she helped me fill them up. And I have to say, by now I'm probably able to get the big containers out, fill the smaller ones up, etc. So have a think about what you need to rearrange in your house to be able to still do a lot of things by yourself. And lastly, in this point really is ask for help. We're all independent beings, and we all don't like to admit that we need help, and we often don't like to ask for help. But if you have family and friends around, ask for help, because depending on your illness, surgery, you will need it. If Mum wouldn't have been there, I would have had to ask someone to come for the first few days to look after me. And as well as the problem that someone needed to pick me up from hospital, and that was during working hours. I was surprised how many friends actually offered and saying, hey, I just take a few hours off, I'll come and get you. So yeah, people are more willing to help than you would think. Even if you don't have many friends around or family, ask your neighbor. At least if you're friendly with them, they might be able to just drop you off some food, or, you know, tie your shoelaces for you if that's what you need. So ask for help. People in general are nice, and we're all going to be in situations where we need help. So we just have to try and look after each other. There are a few practical tools that can make life easier while you are injured or sick. Firstly, as briefly mentioned before, it's delivery apps or food apps. These days, we are very lucky that you can basically, thanks to COVID, I think, order everything and anything on an app. I can order my full grocery shop from the supermarket, and they will deliver it within a couple of hours to my house for no fee or a very minimal fee. And I think whatever $5 or $10 they charge to deliver is well worth it if you're just not able to get there and you don't have anyone else that can go to the shops for you. And then there are, of course, Uber Eats, Menulog, etc., the food delivery apps. And so if you fancy some takeaway while sick, use those and they get to your door ASAP. If you're dealing with something more serious, a medical alert system might be the thing for you and make you and your family and friends feel better about you being monitored and or living on your own while not feeling 100%. We actually bought my mum an Apple Watch a couple of years back because she's a little bit unsteady on her feet, and as she lives in the country on property, we were just worried she's going to trip in the chicken coop, fall over, and no one's going to know about it for ages. So she's got an Apple Watch that will actually set people if she has a fall, if her heart rate is unusual, or if anything else happens and she doesn't move for a certain amount of time, the Apple Watch will send an alert to her husband or us kids, and then we can check on her and make sure she is fine. There are lots of other devices that can do the same thing. So if that's something you think you might need to feel secure, or your family might need to feel, secure and not worried about you, then definitely have a little bit of a research into medical devices that can alert people if anything goes wrong. And then there are the voice control devices. Alexa, I guess, is the biggest of them these days. So if you've got an Alexa Google at home, definitely utilize her. I don't, but I did use my iPhone calendar and reminders quite a bit in the first week after surgery, because while on strong drugs and tired and just not feeling well, it is easy enough to forget important things, and I still had some things to do while being sick. I actually have some smart light bulbs, and they were a real great help in the first few days, because moving in and out of bed with a sling and freshly after the operation was quite tricky. So not having to get up to turn the lights on and off was a game changer. I can control these bulbs easily with my phone and could just shut my eyes, turn the lights off, and it was easier. So have a think about what devices and especially voice control devices, could help you around the house while you're sick, and that would make your life a lot easier. Being isolated or alone after an injury or during illness can be tough on your mental health. So make sure you stay connected to people. If you're finding yourself home alone unwell, make sure you give someone you care for a call during the day, or you send some text messages to friends. Not only will it help you to feel better and connect with people, and hopefully they put a smile on your face, it's also a peace of mind for your friends and family that you're actually doing okay. Find distractions. I have to say, after the initial days of sleeping and, feeling okay-ish because I was high on drugs, I was getting really bored and feeling sorry for myself. So whatever you like to distract yourself, for me, it was the TV. So I took advantage of quite a few offers from the big streaming services like Netflix, Binge, Disney, you name it. I signed up for all of those for the next few weeks. So I had lots to watch that I didn't have time to watch before, which was great. I also got myself a book and was really hoping to read it, but I didn't quite factor in that holding a heavy book while your hand is in a sling is not ideal. So that book is still sitting on my side table, and hopefully now that I'm getting a lot better, I'll be able to get into that in the next few days. Also focus on the small victories if you're feeling low. I have to say there was a few things that I was really excited about after surgery. The first time I was able to actually have a shower by myself on day 9 was great. Being able to wear a bra, believe it or not, was a highlight. And just today, it's probably about day 15. Oh no, it's actually day 21 already. And I was able to finally tie my shoelaces. Not greatly, like it's tricky and I have to be really careful that I don't rip anything, but I can actually get my arm there to sort of tie the shoes. So that made me smile today because my mom has left, I'm by myself, and it was very limiting to have only slip-on shoes. So being able to wear my sneakers was a highlight of my day today. Make sure you concentrate and celebrate the small victories. And then we just have to remind ourselves that this is not permanent and we'll get there. And then lastly, be kind to yourself, which sort of ties in with the last point. It's not permanent, it's temporary, the situation you're in. So make sure you don't give yourself too much of a hard time. It's normal to feel anxious at some points, depending on what you can or can't do right now. But try to stay positive, because I strongly believe that the more positive you are, the faster you will heal. If you are feeling totally overwhelmed and you are alone and there is no one you can talk to, family, friends are busy, or you don't have any, make sure you try and find support somewhere else. There's a lot of online communities that will help people that are recovering from illness alone. There might be a counselor, a therapist. Whatever you need, make sure you ask for help and you get it and you stay connected, because being alone, feeling unwell and locked away is really, really hard. And we all need to find ways to make sure we're getting through this time with a smile, hopefully, and sometimes a tear.